Burkart. I enjoy china painting probably more than anything I ever did. I've been painting for probably 30-some years. I looked today to see when my first plate was painted. It was 1976. And I had never had a brush in my hand before, and I was 57 years old. The first time I had a brush in my hand. I got started by accident. I was in the antique business, had lots of fun. My husband made the living, and I played around doing this and that and the other thing. Loved to buy and sell. My sister painted first, and one day there was 4 ladies that went down to the Quad Cities. One lady didn't go, and my sister said, "Would you like to go along for fun today? We're going to go, and there's one lady not going, and there's room for you if you'd like." And I said, "Yeah, I could." I said, "I don't got anything special on." So I went along to visit. And this lady, when I got there, the teacher says, "And who are you?" I just came along to visit today. "Well, you can visit for 15 minutes. She says, "The rest are paying ladies. You'll have to go downtown and shop or do whatever you want." She says, "But you can't stay here." Well, I didn't have my own car. I didn't know Davenport. And so I got a brush and a plate put in my hands. I must have had a plate to look at because I can remember the colors. They were yellow and red. And anyway, I was 2 hours trying to sketch 3 apples on the plate. Oh, I measured this way and that way, and I wanted it so perfect. Oh, after about an hour or so, she came by to look to see what I was doing. She says, "You didn't have to do all that." She says, "I just wanted 3 apples on the plate." By the time she came, I had the branch on, I had every vein and every leaf and all that. And she says, "What'd you put them veins in the leaves for?" "Well, I thought you're supposed to." "Why, you look at a plate," she said, "a tree," she says, "you don't see all them veins, you see leaves." Oh, I didn't know that. So anyway, that ended my first lesson. So then her husband did the firing, so I had to go back to see what it like after it was fired. And so then I had another lesson. So I kind of got started by accident. In china painting, everything has to be just right. My paints have to be the right consistency. We buy it in little vials, mix it up with a little oil, and put it on here. But it has to be just right, not too thick or too thin. If it's too thin, it'll run in the kiln. If it's too thick, it'll have all little dry marks in it, and it'll chip off in the kiln. So first of all, your paint has to be in good order. Another thing, you have to have brushes that got corners on them. You can't use wore-out brushes. These brushes have been wore out more or less, but they still work for me. But you got to have, you can't go to a store, craft store and buy those brushes. They have to be regular china painting brushes. Otherwise, they leave lines in the work. You got to have the right kind of a rag there to wipe your brush on. You got a synthetic one, it won't absorb the solvent and the oil, and your work runs. You have to have a little dish with oil in it. I used to paint for a long time with just 2-3 drops of oil. When you just got a couple drops, you're just seasoning the very tip. You want that oil to get all the way up in here in the furrow. So you dip your brush. You got to have a tile here to work that oil up into the brush. And now this oil is all the way up to the furrow. And when I press it on the rag, you use your 3rd finger because it's the strongest, and just get the edge of it. Try and keep that oil up in here because it feeds down all day long after I once get started here. I myself would suggest you put on a tinted background. Okay, we got some green over there, and I'm going to echo that color over here. And if you'll notice, I'm laying the whole brush down. I'm not just working on the corner. My eye is telling me what to do here, and my hand has to be able to do it. Now I'm going to introduce another color. I happen to have that yellow rose on here, so I'm going to go into some yellow. And if these little windows here makes it look like something's going on down there. Just even don't close them up. It's very easy to close them up. And then on another fire, you can wash a little color over some of them windows, and it looks like something's peeking out. Okay, I think a little yellow might be pretty in my tinted background here. Oh, I don't think a little blue for sky would hurt it. I'll just come into a little blue. Echo it over here. It's like a voice, an echo. This black mark there, that means top. That's where, if I wanted to display it, I'd want this top. Okay, now I got this in here, and I'm going to swish these together and clean oil brush. Sometimes I use just solvent, and sometimes I use oil, according to what the need is, and you kind of learn that as you go along. This is about the right consistency here for firing. If it's too thick, and that's where if you get oil painters, they want it pretty right away. In China, you got to have patience. It's pale the first fire, second fire you build it up, you put your stems and your leaves and your buds on, and then the third fire is where you make it pretty. Would you like to have me demonstrate a rose? It's a magic sketch. Went all the way to California. No, I think it was probably Denver area where I went to a special seminar. And I learned this magic sketch. And I tell the students now, be able to do this without even thinking. And you know, it isn't that easy for them. I don't know why, but it seems like harder. This is the heart of it, and this is the top. The whole thing sort of makes a circle. And then I'm going to put two little legs on. It looks like a little iron kettle boiling over. This is my petals now. One petal is way up high here in the heart of the rose. One petal always lays on top of another petal. Then take this little leg and come straight out and hook it on. This side, I don't want to put a petal up here because then it looks like it's got two little ears. See if I put it up here, what you see right away? I don't want it there. This side gets only two petals. I want it like this, not straight across. So I'll come down here and come down there. This here comes out like this, and this is bottom petal. This bottom petal has to be long enough that it could curl around that hole. And the petals have to be in proportion so when that rose was still in the bud form that it was wrapped around it. And sometimes you can look at somebody's work and you can tell immediately that it's not in proportion. But I think of that as as I paint, whether or not it's in proportion. This is this magic sketch. Now, when I do it with the wax pencil here, them smudges get in the paint. It does burn out, but I'm going to sketch it on here with the paint, though, because then I don't have to worry. Now this has been fired, so in between, after a firing, we sand it. Never on top of your palette, because that grit will get in your paints and then you might just as well throw them away. So you don't want to scratch it so hard that you take the paint off, because it's only one fire usually on there, but enough to make it smooth, and you can kind of feel it. It's just like glass after you fire it. So now we got a pretty nice start here. So now all of our work's freehand. No tracing. First, that's the good teacher that I had there at Davenport says there's no tracing in this class. So okay, I had to learn to sketch. Couldn't sketch, but I learned how. So I'm going to just put a line here where my lazy C is. Now, I have to decide what color I want. I was thinking about probably putting a red one on here, being I have some red in my background. Another thing I have to decide, do I want the rose hanging up, down, or do I want it pointing up? I think I'll have it hanging down. I got some painted up here, they're all hanging down. Really don't make any difference. One's no harder than the other. So I'm going to paint this in blood red. So in order to get it on my lazy C, I'm going to put my bowl right there. Now this is top here. Now I'm going to turn this up, right side up, and paint my rose right side up, and when I get finished and turn it back again, it's always hanging down. And you know, if that gets aiming the wrong way, it's so hard to get it straightened out again. So now when I paint this in, I think of a W. And then this is the top. And you know, so many of them can't visualize that, including me at one time, and they will flatten that out on top, and you can tell right away it don't look right. Now here comes my, one of these are way up high, and I think I told you here that they have to have 6 basic petals. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. After you got your 6 basic petals, and you can push or pull more out if you want anything to balance it out. But when I'm sketching here, I'm thinking about 6 basic petals. And one petal always lays on top of another. Oh, and here's my little legs. Well, that shouldn't be hard. That's just sketching in a rose. Okay, so now I'm going to go into my blood red, and I want the heart of the rose here just a bit darker. So this is my red grape, and I'm double loading the brush. No, watch me close when I load this brush, because this is mostly the secret of China painting, is loading that brush. I don't never get up into that big pile, because you're gonna have way too much paint. So I work on this little extra right down here, and now when I double load the brush, I'm not just working on the tip, I'm laying this brush down and I'm swiggling it into the brush. Okay, now there's a secret on holding the plate. Do you notice I'm up over the table here? I haven't got thumbs on the plate. If you got thumbs on the plate, you get into your wet paint. So you hold your plate like this, and you don't do like this. Paint on the table. You get a room full of that, and it sounds like they're all eating out of the dog's dish. It isn't right. Here it is right here. And there you'll get a student that'll be painting way down here. They don't want nobody to see it because they aren't good. I says, don't do that. That's the best you can do and be proud of it. Hold it up here wherever they can see it. Okay, I got the brush loaded here, I think. Yeah, I do. And I'm going to look where I'm at now. And I'm on that little finger. That little finger balances my plate. If I get a student from another teacher that doesn't teach that way, they can't. They're so used to getting that little finger curled up there that they can't get it down. It is important to start out right, to get it right away, get a good teaching. Okay, so now I want to paint in the bowl, so I turned it upside. You always paint towards yourself. You never paint like that. You always paint towards yourself. So now I'm going to paint in the rose here. Now I've lost a little of my center there, so I'm going to put it back in again. Okay, now the next important stroke here is underneath the bowl. And there again, I load a brush, and you probably didn't even notice. I loaded halfway across, so when I lay that brush down, I got a shadow. If you load it just a little on a corner, then you just got a little skinny line there, and it's not right. You want it loaded where it's can lay the brush down more. Now, when I turn it up, you see it's hanging down. That's what I wanted. If you try and paint the whole thing upside down like this, you're in trouble. Now, when you're designing, there's so much to learn. Don't have anything going straight up, like a stem or leaf, something like that, or bud. Avoid that. Don't have anything going straight down, nothing going at quarter after, nothing going at quarter to. Miss those spots. I'm going to put some background here so I got something to cut, otherwise it's all dry there. So you can't go wrong by a little green. Okay, notice where I'm got a hold of my brush again. It's different. Way down here, I'm down to business right here. Now I got a close brush and a tight hold on my brush. Okay, I'm going to echo the color over here now. Come in with a little blue, maybe. In other words, I'm surrounding in color. So I'm going to change brushes, if you'll notice. This is a synthetic brush. A synthetic brush has more strength right here than what my brushes are soft there. And so you can't get a good crisp cut with soft brush. So now I'm going into the solvent. Sometimes I'm in oil and sometimes I'm in the solvent. Right now I'm in the solvent. Okay, I'm going to cut with the synthetic brush. And I cut at an angle. And I lay my brush on this and roll it back a little bit, clean the oil off my brush, and swing it in. Okay, I forgot to cut the center here. I'm going to cut that first now. And I don't want this round, I want it kind of on an oval, almond shaped. What I'm doing right now, cutting the center, isn't hard for me. It is hard for a lot of students. If they cut too much, it gets busy there looking. And if you don't cut enough, as my sister says, it's got big old fish mouths on it. I'll show you here, it's oval now. I'm going to go what I think is pretty anyway. And now when I turn this up like this, I'm just going to give it a few little pushes here to make it look like there's something going on down there, and that's enough. Now, if I put too many in, it's busy, and if I don't put enough in, it's a big old fish mouth, as my sister said, looks like a fish going to come up and grab a minnow. Okay, that's pretty close to all right. Now here, when I put my background on, I went up to the teacher to have her critique my rose. And the first thing she says, "Oh, you've smothered your rose." And I didn't know any better. What I did was I come here all the way around, and that rose couldn't breathe. So you always leave a spot like that for the rose to breathe. Wanda Clapham, she was part Indian, and she says, that little spot there leaves the evil spirits out. So always leave that there like that. Now what I'm painting right now is my main flower right here. And we refer to that as the prima donna, or your leading lady. I'm going to now, I got the center cut, and I'm going to clean out this bowl. But I don't want to go down to the white of the china, so this time I'm going into the oil. And I'm not cleaning it real good because I want to get in there with my finger and silk yet to put highlights on there. So now I'm going to go back to my synthetic brush here and cut the rest of this rose. Okay, notice how I'm getting all this out. I squeeze it there, and then I come down here to a dry spot and I squeeze it again. Because the minute it gets a little, you don't get all the solvent out of there, it runs on you. It makes a great big, there's a nice cut right there. And I want you to notice something here. I don't cut all the way into the bowl. You see this little mark right there? At a show, a lady said to me, "Your roses are so crisp looking." She says, "Mine look like this." That's the secret right here, is this little curl. Right there. Now I'm going to cut this one and get that little curl in there again. Now, this is difficult, I know, but it just takes practice. Here, I'm going to cut again now. This one is where that little leg was on the bottom of that rose. And here I'm cutting, and there again, I left this little spot from here to here. So I'm going to come down here and swing, and I lift, swing. I just don't do like that. I'm swinging, and then I let up on the pressure of the brush. And I do that so I got some little shadow down in there so it isn't all clean. Okay, this side is easy if you're right-handed. This side here, I can't go down like that. I can't get my finger down. I'd get in my wet work. And so how do I cut that. They got no support whatsoever. So I start here and cut. And there again, my eyes on the bowl, I left that little room from here to here. So I'll roll back and swing towards the bowl. Okay, this is that other one where I had the little legs under the bowl. Now there again, when I did that, my eyes on the bowl. Swing, you get the brush in your hand and you don't know where you're supposed to swing. But if you remember, you always swing towards the bowl. I had one lady one time, she says, yeah, but what do you do between here and there? And I thought, well, that's a good question. You'll find out in just a little bit. Now that bottom petal, I can't get with the brush very good, but I can get it better with the finger in the silk. And I'll show you now how I'm going to get that. You double the silk up in your hand so you don't drag it across your wet work. And now I'm going to use my fingernail. Cut, and then hold the silk real tight so there's no wrinkles there. And just pat it out smooth. And don't worry about the borders. We're going to pick that out from the background. Okay, let me just pat there a little bit. Now I'm going to put my highlight on the bowl. And I'll put one over here. I scratch it with my fingernail, hold the silk real tight, and get my highlight on there. And here's where my rose can breathe. Okay. Now I got, like I said, the two values, light and medium. So now we want that third value in there. And I'm going to load it with some, probably a black green or something darker. I'll check once here what I've got. I got a couple fingerprints, nail prints here. At a show, there was a young girl there that was China painting, and she come past my booth, and she was asking me questions, and anyway, she had that little finger rolled up when she was trying to show me. And I says, oh, you got to get down on that little finger. And she says, oh, I get it in my wet china if I do that. She says, I don't want that. And I said, so do I. And she says, well, what do you do about it? I said, well, you just feather over it and take it out. Oh, I didn't know that, she says. There we got the third value. Now here I don't have any boundaries. I'm going to just find it. See, I'll find that petal back there. Put a little tear in it. I'm picking that rose out of the background. Now here too, you'd wonder what to do there. Okay, here it is. Shape it out of the background, see? Get in there with it now and put a little tear in it if you want to. If you'll notice, every once in a while I'm feathering, and that's to get these little marks out of there. And I have three terminologies: fluff, feather, and filter. And Some of the time I'm fluffing in paint. Another time I'm filtering. That's when I go out with these excess. And now when I feather, it's a real light touch. If I want to add some more here or there, this is the time to do it. It really looks pretty good. I don't really think I need any more. If I had a bigger bowl on there, I would put another petal going right in here to kind of make the bowl look a little fuller. But this is enough here because there isn't a lot of room there, and the first thing you know, it's getting too busy looking. So it's eye and hand coordination. Now this needs a little softening up, and I want to move some of this just softly. So I'm going to sponge. I got a sponge in my silk here, and get rid of that and put my leaves on. I'll put another rose on or something here. This is a sponge from an old antique piece of some kind, and it's softer than what you can actually buy on the over the counter. And I go around and I feel in Goodwills and garage sales and things like that, and feel of pillows and things like that. And I'm so used to having just the right feel that I know whether it's a good piece of sponge or not. And then with the silk, they're old headscarves. And after a while, you get a feeling of that real silk, and you can just go up and feel something, and you know if it's silk or not. Here I got one. I'll just show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to, with a oil brush, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to wipe it like this, and then I'm going to wipe it like that, and then I cut here and I cut there, and then finish it out. So that's what I'm going to do here on this one that I'm doing right now. I got it right up to that point here where I can cut. And I don't want to go in the solvent because it'll get right down to the white of the china, or the white of this anyhow. And I want to leave a little there for highlight. Okay. We refer to this as baby's butt. And now I'll cut this way. Okay, now I'm going to change brushes and go to the synthetic brush again because it's a little stronger. And I'm going to cut here, cut there. And now I'm going to come again, but I'm going to try and cut at a different spot. And that pretty much takes care of this fire on this particular rose. On the next fire, you shadow down on these little points and wash over it. But this is a typical first fire. I'm going to put a little dark spot right down there in the middle. This is my black. And I'm going to fix them little calyxes just a bit yet. Okay, part of the secret of the stem is the color. So I'm going to go into my white rose. This is a puddle here. That's all what I got left over at the end of the day. I put together, and it's a mixture of this and that and the other thing, but it's kind of pretty for shadows, so I do it. And so often I try it to see what I got there. And now here, oh, I got a liner brush. And I'm thinking of a lazy C. Okay, there's the start right there. You always paint towards yourself now, so you turn around. And then I'm going to come up this side. And then we come down here like this, and then come down here like this, and then we'll probably put a bud down there. This is the start of my lazy C, and now you put your stamp, your leaves, on the lines of opposition. The students will say to me, Helen, this is where you lose me. I don't know what you're talking about. Really, all it is you got to cross that lazy C. So your leaves will start here and probably come out down there and maybe right here. When I sketch angles. You don't sketch valentines. And the rule of the thumb is a leaf should be the size of a petal. And it works good for roses. And they usually come in sprays of 3 or 5. And the end leaf is always the largest because it was out first. Okay. Now I'll paint those in. And now you can more or less put them wherever it needs it for balance. I'm going to use a bigger brush now. If you can handle a bigger brush, you have less meaningless strokes, and your work is prettier. Okay, a leaf. It's a C stroke. Into the vein. Lay the brush onto the vein. Turn the point towards your heart, and just take the corner of the brush and coax it along down into the point, and there you got a pretty nice looking leaf. After my first lesson with having veins and everything, I don't do that anymore. If I have to, I just put a little something like that in. Okay, here again, a C stroke into the vein. Lay the brush on the vein. Continue on. Turn the point towards your heart and pull it on down into the point. Maybe it's prettier to change color a little bit here. I'll get into some yellows and don't want all Heinz pickle leaves. That's pretty. Now I've introduced a color that I don't have anyplace else. Maybe that would be pretty right here to put one. Okay, now to turn over a leaf. When you got a leaf turned over, there's something taken away because it's curled up. So I'm going to show you right here. I'm going to just take off that little portion right there and make a turn back. And then I have to make a shadow. Interesting. Okay, so here, got a little smaller leaf. I'll get in something a little lighter green. Okay, I want to, maybe I'll just tuck little leaves up in there too. Painting with blood red. Okay, they got the little brown thing on the end. It's the feedback, and it's right up in here, and I'm going to put that on. Okay, so far so good. I'm going to open it up now. Come into something a bit darker. And get in here and make a roll back. I think it'd be pretty to make it look like it has a drop petal right there. Maybe put one on the other side too. And now it needs a little calyxes hanging down. Maybe I'll put them on with the bigger brush there, just a little prettier. It's nothing worse to have a bud hanging on a thread. So what I do is come along here and just come up in here. And if I want to put a little red peeking out, I'll show you how to do that. Maybe this one too, just a little bit peeking out. Sometimes that stem gets a little long looking, so then I put a little leaf on it or something so it don't look so long. And here can be a couple little leaves too. When we China paint, it's done in layers. You put on your first fire and put it on pale, light. And then that's fired. And then you pick up that same piece and paint on top of it again to enhance it more. And then that's fired the second time. And then the third time, it's all the little things that might have burned out a little bit in the firing or so, and you touch it all up. And my leaves are pretty much all one value, so now is the time where I can paint over this very same leaf and get another value in there. So I'm loading the brush with the blood red, and now I always assume the sun's coming from the left and the right side is my shadow side. So I am going to start here on my shadow side, and this is called washing over it. I don't know why they say wash, but anyway, that's the terminology. So I'm just going to paint right over this and see if I can get another value here. Okay, so now I'm going to go over and do this next one. I always paint towards myself, so I turn the plate. I want this to look like it's behind my prima donna. So I'm going to use the same color. Maybe I'll go into a little red grape. And put a shadow right here so that it looks like it's behind the other one. Okay, now I've lost a little color right there, so I'm going to go back in and put it in there again. Usually the second time it sticks and will be all right. Okay, here one petal on top of another petal, I'll put a little shadow underneath the underneath one. Okay.
Just 1 second, all right.
So we'll continue on here and wash over this bottom one here, the strapped rose. Now you realize that this is only second fire. I still have another fire left that I can touch this up on the next fire yet if I lose a little bit. And, oh, I want to put a stem in yet. And then this is just about ready to fire the second time. And then, of course, the third time would be something like that you really put on it. So to make a stem now, I'll change brushes again. One lady says to me, "Do you need all them brushes?" I says, "Well, yeah, you really do have to have a brush for this, a brush for that." And she thought it looked pretty. Well, brushes are expensive, but I always apologize when I sell one to somebody and they says, Helen, don't do that. Your brushes are reasonable, yet according to sometimes a brush costs $100. I didn't know that. I didn't work on the point of the brush. Watch it here. See how much I'm laying down that brush? And that's the secret of the pretty stems, right there. And now turn it around and reload the brush with something a bit darker. And this time, just work on the point of it. You see, you got a pretty stem. Or branch, or yeah, this is a stem. And these little places where your hesset can come out or something else. Now, all these roses probably couldn't hang on one month, so I'll put another stem there. I had it wrong. I'll tell you what I did. I had it going the same way as that one. I had it, I wanted to go a little different like that. Yeah, that's better. When I was making stems, they didn't have no bend in them. I says, it's sticky straight. It just seems like I had the worst time getting bends in my stems. And I noticed a lot of people have the same problem. Yeah, that kind of balances it. I want to say goodbye to everybody, and I enjoyed making this little skit, and I hope that you keep practicing so you can swing the brush around and make other people happy. And goodbye.